This summer, my internship placement was at the Wisconsin Division of Public Health in the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I specifically worked in the administrator's office, and my mentor was Susan Utek, who is the Public Health Standards Director and works a lot on accreditation sustainability since the division was accredited last August, and also coordinates the state health assessment process, among other things. I was exposed to a wide variety of work at the division, but my main project was centered around the Public Health Accreditation Board, or FAB, annual report process. The Public Health Accreditation Board asked a total of 19 questions in Section 2 of the annual report, and I was assigned 4 of these questions, which asked about how the division has strengthened collaborative partnerships, conducted work in certain emerging areas in public health, and exemplified innovation. In the spirit of innovation, Susan decided to conduct a survey of all Division of Public Health staff for these 4 questions. And so the Keeping Us Better survey was born, which is sort of the catchphrase for the accreditation sustainability process. The survey asked staff to provide their name, program area, and then contained the 4 questions that I was assigned for the annual report. The survey was open starting on June 2nd and closed on June 20th. Once the survey closed, I read through all the responses and began to narrow them based on certain criteria. First, the example needed to fit into the scope of what FAB defines as public health. It needs to have been implemented within the past year since it is an annual report, and it needs to have strong evidence to exemplify what the question is asking for. Ultimately, I narrowed it to 10 examples, and I began setting up one-on-one interviews with the respondents to gather more information that would help inform my narrative. I prepared a set of questions before each interview and took detailed notes during. After the interviews were complete, I was ready to begin drafting, and so I wrote an introduction to describe the survey process, paragraph describing general themes that arose in the responses, and then a narrative for each of the examples. Once I had developed a strong draft, I sent a copy of that back to the interviewee for them to provide feedback and sign off on. From there, I was able to make a final round of edits, and then I ultimately ended up with a final product that will be included in the FAB annual report. As a follow-up to this project, I created 3 posters and 1 internal resource document that contain responses from the survey to be shared internally with staff. The posters will be hung up around the division spaces in the building, and the posters and resource document will be posted to the internal work web. The purpose of my project was to report on the division's work over the year in these 3 areas and to showcase and increase staff awareness of their fellow colleagues' work. Conducting the one-on-one interviews with staff about their work really allowed me to see a wide variety of what innovative public health work can look like. Because of this, I have benefited from amazing networking and mentorship. I now have a much better sense of what day-to-day public health work looks like and how it's set up to move towards the often abstract and big-picture goals of public health, which is something that I always had struggled a little bit to understand before. Interacting with all the people that I did and hearing about their work has made me excited and hopeful for the future of public health and the possibilities that are ahead for both the field and for myself as a student.